With superb psychological thriller The Invisible Man now available to stream online, we thought it would be a great time to give you some tips and suggestions on a range of similarly thrilling films.
From uncanny doppelgangers to domestic paranoia, here are 10 films that will truly get under your skin. Based on a Patrick Hamilton play of the same name and a British film from 4 years earlier, Gaslight follows Ingrid Bergman's Paula, who marries the handsome Gregory after a whirlwind romance and moves with him to the home of her deceased aunt. Things take a turn for the strange. Paula keeps misplacing things, Gregory has outbursts of hysterical anger, and she hears mysterious footsteps coming from the attic at night. The film was clearly a major influence on The Invisible Man, particularly Adrian's abuse of Cecilia, and without wanting to spoil anything, Gaslight gave rise to the term gaslighting, so there's definitely a few twists and turns to uncover along the way.
Enemy, directed by Denis Villeneuve before Arrival, Sicario and Blade Runner 2049 made him a hot ticket director, is a twisty doppelganger thriller caked with dread and paranoia.
Please go or I'll call the police. Go ahead, call the police. What are you going to tell them? What are you going to tell them, man?
The film follows a university lecturer, Adam, played by a phenomenal Jake Gyllenhaal, as he encounters his exact double while watching a movie. As he slowly becomes obsessed with his doppelganger, the film begins to venture into darker territory, as the two men's lives quickly become entangled with disastrous results. While it's a difficult film to watch at times, there's a lot to love about the movie. For starters, I can't stress enough how good Jake Gyllenhaal is. He puts in two vastly different performances, and the range he portrays is staggering. Adam is a physical ball of nerves, all hunched shoulders and shifty looks, while his doppelganger, Anthony, is a brash and at times reckless character who takes a very different approach to the unique situation. Then there's the sublime cinematography that conjures up claustrophobic imagery, such as the power cables above the characters' heads taking on the guise of a spider's web. And as if that's not suffocating enough, the whole film is caked in a sickly yellow-green glow to really make you feel extra uncomfortable.
Michael Shannon is perhaps best known for his role as the highly strung Nelson Van Alden in Boardwalk Empire, but in my opinion he's never been better than in Take Shelter, Jeff Nichols' astonishing drama from 2011. Shannon plays Curtis, a man who begins to experience hallucinatory visions of an apocalyptic storm. Convinced they are meant to warn him of a coming disaster, he begins building a shelter for him and his family in their garden, and his erratic behaviour causes tensions to bubble over in their small Midwestern town. It's a slow burn, and although it may not have the over-the-top delights of some of the films on this list, in terms of a psychological portrait of a man on the edge, there are few better films.
Schlocky Netflix horror Cam offers up a suitably pulpy doppelganger thriller. When an ambitious cam girl, Alice, discovers that she's been replaced by an exact replica of herself on her channel, her life quickly unravels as her double takes control. The film definitely takes a leaf out of the Black Mirror school of storytelling, with technology naturally at the forefront. And similar to The Invisible Man, much of the horror comes from the main character's lack of control, specifically of the tech, and her inability to effectively explain the situation to anyone who might be able to help.
Customer support, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm locked out of my account and I think you guys are just replaying an old show or something.
I don't think that's possible. We can't do that.
The film doesn't venture too far into explaining what's going on or why, so feel free to leave your brain at the door. But it does leave it just ambiguous enough that it could be anything from identity theft to something potentially supernatural. Being a Netflix original, it's a film that you can easily stream anywhere in the world, and at a brisk 90 minutes, Cam is clever enough to never outstay its welcome.
The truth is that the psychological thriller was more or less perfected in 1968 with Rosemarys Baby, an all-time great of Hollywood cinema. Rosemary and her husband move into a grand apartment block in New York, despite rumours about the building's dark past. But what's not to like? Even the neighbours seem nice. Needless to say, things take a number of turns towards something much more horrific, and Mia Farrow perfectly portrays someone whose sanity is stretched to breaking point.
It's alive, it's all right. Feel.
Oh, yeah, well,
Don't be scared, it won't bite you.
oh, it's wonderful. It's really...
It's difficult to imagine how revolutionary the film was upon release in the 60s, with its sex scenes, disturbing nightmare sequences, and a surprising amount of gore. Best of all, the film has aged magnificently, edited at a pace that feels extremely modern for a film of that era, and has one of the most memorable endings in cinematic history.
Mother, don't forget that exclamation mark, is a relentlessly intense film. It's the kind of film that raises your stress levels early on and just gleefully watches them soar across 121 minutes of intense paranoia. Following the ambiguously named Mother and Him, played by Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem, Mother is a series of increasingly uncomfortable vignettes that unfold after an uninvited married couple, Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer, arrive at their gorgeous rural homestead. Now that sounds relatively straightforward, but I kid you not, Mother goes to some absolutely batshit crazy places that I never would have anticipated. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say conventional storytelling and filmmaking rules were thrown out the window during the making of this film. And at the heart of it all is the poor central mother, whose fear and powerlessness is so heartbreakingly relatable. Much of the film is viewed through her eyes, and Jennifer Lawrence's performance really helps the viewer feel grounded among the on-screen carnage. It won't be to everyone's tastes, but if you're willing to suspend your disbelief, you'll find a film that will dig its way under your skin and stay there for days, maybe even weeks later.
There's nothing quite like a nice dinner party with friends, right? Well, no, actually. It's a horrible, anxiety-ridden affair if Karen Kusama's The Invitation is anything to go by. When Will's estranged ex-wife Eden invites him, his new girlfriend, and the rest of their friendship group to a dinner party, Will is understandably reluctant to go and suspicious of her intentions. Unfortunately, his suspicions are only heightened by a number of unsettling, not quite right elements of the evening. Why are there bars on all the windows? Why is Eden popping pills? Why are they lighting a lantern in the garden? And why don't they want anyone to leave? The film brilliantly plays on our inclination to be polite and gracious in other people's homes, especially at a dinner party, and almost every single element of the film could either be read as confirmation of Will's suspicions that something is deeply wrong, or evidence that Will's own paranoia is getting the better of him. It's incredible how far into the film this tension continues too. There are numerous times where Will's character's worst fears appear to be confirmed, only for a simple explanation to make him appear mad after all.
Of course, we couldn't put this list together without mentioning the absolute master of the psychological thriller, Mr. Alfred Joseph Hitchcock. We could easily have chosen a number of his films, maybe Rear Window or perhaps Psycho, but we've plumped for his 1958 masterpiece, Vertigo. This classic mystery thriller stars Jimmy Stewart as a former police detective who's been forced into an early retirement due to his crippling fear of heights and extreme vertigo, an effect that the film masterfully portrays with cinema's very first dolly zoom. The effect is achieved by zooming in on the lens while tracking back with the camera, and it was so effective that it became a cinematic staple, featuring in everything from Jaws to Booksmart. Jimmy Stewart puts in an all-timer of a performance as the obsessive Scotty, and, well, the film currently sits at number 9 on the American Film Institute's Top 100 Films, so what more reason to watch it do you need?
The Machinist is well known for featuring an astonishing physical transformation by Christian Bale, who dropped to only £110, or just over 7.5 stone in proper measures, to play Trevor Resnick, an isolated machine worker who hasn't slept for a year. The fact that Bale did this only a year before he played Bruce Wayne is incredible, but there's plenty of more interesting things about the film than that. It's a grim, grimy study of a man's sanity slowly unravelling as Trevor's chronic insomnia takes its toll and he descends into paranoia, convinced he's being stalked by a man nobody else seems to recognise. Like all the best psychological thrillers, you spend much of the film questioning how much you can believe the main character's version of events, with plenty of red herrings and twists to keep you guessing right until the ending. And oh, what an ending it is.
Loosely based on Agatha Christie's superb novel And Then There Were None, Identity is a riotously entertaining psychological thriller. The film sees 10 strangers stranded at a Nevada motel during a torrential thunderstorm. With no way to escape, the ensemble soon realise that they're all mysteriously connected to one another. Ooh, spooky. Then, one by one, they all start getting picked off by an unknown killer. While it follows Christie's classic formula almost to a T, Identity throws in enough fresh twists to keep you guessing, and at a breezy 90 minutes, the pace never sags across the film's runtime. Oh, did I forget to mention, it's also stuffed with a sensational ensemble cast, including John Cusack, Ray Liotta, Amanda Peet, and Dr. Cox from Scrubs.
Thank you so much for watching. If we missed any of your favourites, or if you have any further suggestions, please hit us up in the comments below, or you can come and find us on Twitter. I'm at ChrisMorris91, and he's at Adam Rees Mace. We'll catch you next time.